we're going to do today is we're just going to talk briefly about the two authors. Then the next class, we'll talk more about the book Tafseer Jalalayn, because you have to know who the authors are before you get to the book, and then we start reading the book. These classes will be short. We're going to try to keep it to 30 minutes, and then inshallah, if there's questions, and we will have questions for you, at least 5 this class right here. The authors' names, and there's a lot of information. Okay? What this text and this class is designed to do is to allow the student a beginning text, to start. Okay, what happens sometimes in classes of tafsir, the teachers get so, wrapped up in explaining so many details at the beginning, it makes it difficult for a beginner talib al-ilm to ever arrive at the end of the objective, which is to finish tafsir once, then finish it again, then finish it again, because tafsir of the Quran is one of the maqasidul ilm. It is the objective of all knowledge. All the sciences that you study, they are only designed in order to allow you to be able to make tafsir of the Quran. And what is tafsir of the Quran? It is to extract the meaning of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do with the words in the Quran. What can you do with that ayah? What is intended with that ayah? Does that make sense? And if it does, does that make sense and you agree and you understand, you put 1 there. If you do not, you put 2 there. Then finish it again. If I say that, does anybody have any questions about that? Then you put your questions there. Please remember to put your questions in the form of a question, alhamdulillah, and not a statement. Okay, unless I ask you for statements, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. And please respond to me, because otherwise I might as well be standing talking to this bottle. And it's not responding back to me. So when you respond back, that encourages me, inshallah ta'ala. So the first thing I want you to know is the first author, his name is Jalaluddin. Put his name here. Just put Jalaluddin al-Mahalli. Jalaluddin al-Mahalli. Please, Khadr. Put his name here. So Jalaluddin al-Mahalli is the first author. Now, he was a great Shaykh. He was knowledgeable in usul al-fiqh. He was considered I don't want to use the word genius, but he was considered a brilliant scholar during his time. And he started this particular work when he was older, towards the end of his life. Okay? And he started, I'm going to put it up here. I wanted it over here. Jalaluddin. Right, everybody write it in, is good. Mahalli, but say Mahalli. Mahalli is the author, is the first author. Let's put that there. First author. Jalaluddin al-Mahalli, okay? And he's called al-Mahalli because he's from a place we call Mahalla Kubra in Egypt. Now, when I lived in Egypt, Mahalla Kubra is a well-known city. It has factories, they're clothing factories. When we wanted to buy thobes and specifically women's jilbabs and dresses, we would make a trip out to Mahalla Kubra in Egypt to go to their, it's basically their wholesale factories and everything like that. We buy in bulk and send them back to the United States to make money in order to stay in Egypt longer. And so he's from that place, and that's why he's called al-Mahalli. Some people argue about what is Mahalla. That's not important for you. What's important for you is that he's known as Jalaluddin al-Mahalli. And he was a famous scholar during his time. And he did the bulk of this book. He started off the book in Suratul Surah al-Kahf, I'm sorry. al-Kaf. He started off in Kaf and he went all the way to Nas. Okay? That's where he started off the book. Then he started with al-Fatiha. Then he continued with al-Fatiha. And he went up to, he completed up to the 26th ayah in Baqarah. Then he died. Okay? So that's what we want you to understand. He started on the what? Surah Al-Kahf, the exact middle of the Quran. And he went from the middle of the Quran to the end of the Quran. Now, they've heard Baqarah. Started, and this is my opinion, that he started in Surah Al-Kahf to give people something they would be interested in knowing, different from something else. And then once he got them hooked, then he started on Surah Al-Fatiha, and he got to the 26th ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, and he died. Now, the second author is Jalalayn al-Suyuti. Okay, that's the second author. He's the Jalalayn al-Suyuti is the second author. And he is from the junior students of al-Mahalli. Okay? Who was the second author, everybody? Jalalayn, say his name, Jalalayn al-Suyuti. Jalalayn al-Suyuti is very important. Now, he was from amongst the youngest students of al-Mahalli. Al-Mahalli died and he was 72 years old, approximately. Al-Mahalli, I'm going to call him al-Mahalli, died. He was approximately 72 years old. At the time of his death, al-Suyuti, his student, was 15. So was he amongst the biggest students of his teacher? No. He was amongst the younger students of his teacher. Okay? Now, Suyuti wasn't no joke. He wasn't, just because he was amongst the youngest students, it didn't mean he didn't have any himma. He didn't have any sense of worth. Okay? Because 6 years after the death of his teacher, after the death of his teacher, he decided to finish his work, to finish his tafsir the way his Shaykh had started it. So this is 6 years, so he's only 21 years old, right? Approximately. They say he wasn't even 22 yet when he started it. Okay? Wasn't even 22 yet. And so he picks it up from the beginning, or from al-Baqarah, and he takes it all the way to the end of Surah al-Isra. Okay? Everybody follow me? Now, the thing that's important to understand is that al-Suyuti was what they call one of those child brilliant people. Okay? His story goes like this. Al-Suyuti was the son of a famous Shaykh in his area. His father was one of the well-known Shaykh in the area. And it said that when his mother was pregnant with him, she went into her husband's library to get him a book, to get one of his books to pass to her husband. And she went into labor in the library. And so she gave birth and it's very important. Okay? It's very important point here. So he's born and he's called Ibn al-Kutub. So the ulama say it makes sense that he was always comfortable and always busy with books. He's also one of those people who wrote, that some people say he wrote about 1,000 books in his life. Some say it was only 500. Dig that. So at the most they say 1,000. At the least they say, nah, they're exaggerating. He only wrote about 500 books. Okay, this is what he was. His first book was when he was 8 years old. At 8 years old, he wrote his first book. And it was indicative of what he was going to be interested in. He wrote a sharh, an explanation to al-Isti'adha wal-Basmala. He wrote an explanation of saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim wa bismillahir rahmanir rahim before you start reciting in the Quran at 8 years old. So that was how he started off his life. Okay? Alhamdulillah. He finished the Quran by the time he was 10, and by the time he was 21, he started on the work of his teacher, and he finished it by the time he was 25. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And he wrote many, like as I said, he wrote so many books. How did he do that? When he turned 40, when Jalaluddin al-Suyuti turned 40 years old, he stopped knowing everybody. Some people said something clicked in him, and he stopped teaching. He stopped holding any classes. He stopped giving fatwa. And he had a house by the side of the Nile, okay? And he went to that house, and it's not a house like we have in the West. In Africa in general, the houses have a wall around them, okay? And that wall, when you walk in, now you're still in a courtyard, and then you have the house and the outhouses and everything like that. So he had a place, and he had a garden out back, and he had a library inside his home. And from 40 to approximately 62, I believe he died at 62 years old. Some say a little bit after 60. Okay, so I'm not clear exactly, but anywhere from 61 to 62, Allah knows best, he passed away. So from 40 home, and he did not leave except to go to the masjid and offer his salah. Okay? And what he did for those 20 odd years was write. That's what he did most of his writing. He just busied himself with writing books and teaching and explaining. And he says that he knew the world was changing, he said. And he wanted to gather all the knowledge that they had in his time of all these different books. He knew people would not have access to them in the future, and he would take them and make a comprehensive book of everything that's in those books and put it out. And some people said, oh man, you're cheating. You're just repeating what everybody else said, just putting it in one book. He said, Ajal, Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm taking what they took so that everybody's not going to read their books, but they'll read this book, okay? And it'll have, and they won't lose anything what they from not reading those other books. And so he did that, and that's why he has so many mu'allafat, so many books that we get so much benefit from these days. And he wrote on almost every subject in Islam. And that is the story of Jalaluddin al-Suyuti, and he died in his library. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. He was born in a library, and he died in his library. Alhamdulillah. And they say that people used to come to him and give him money. He would always return their money. The Sultan would send messages, tell Suyuti to come to the castle. He never left his house to go to his castle. They'd have to come to him, ask him whatever they want. He'd answer and tell them, they go back like that. This is what the story of these two great men. He began this tafsir at the end of his life, his academic life, okay? And the second one finished this book at the beginning of his economic life and maturity, okay? And they say this is a miracle, but when you read the book, you cannot tell that it has two authors, okay? Because they wrote, and one wrote similar, imitating his teacher, and they say that shows the great maturity of Jalaluddin al-Suyuti. The other thing they say, the name Jalaluddin to offer for you all today. This is our first lesson because it is background. So he doesn't have any foundation. So now we know on whose shoulders we're going to be taking this tafsir, and it's a word in the Quran is broken down in this regard so that you can understand at a basic level what is said. And our intention is to keep it short and to go through the Quran so that you can finish it and have a foundation in the Quran. Are there any questions at this time? If it's one of the Timbuktu seminary people, you can turn on your microphone and ask. Go ahead, please. If they're not, and then you can type it in. And if you cannot type it in, like Abu Shabaka, then you can speak. I'll give you mic rights. You can say whatever you want to say. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yes, Abu, you have mic rights. All the Timbuktu, if you're a Timbuktu seminar, you have mic rights already. Yeah, I can't take mic rights. How can we obtain a copy of this? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Go ahead, please.
Did the second author, Jalaluddin al-Suyuti, write any other tafsir book?
He wrote the book al-Itqan fi ulum al-Quran. He wrote the ultimate book in the sciences of tafsir. It's called al-Itqan fi ulum al-Quran. And I wrote a poem about this book some years ago for Al-Kawthar Institute. Jalaluddin al-Suyuti. We can go over that book. This book is not in English, Miss Ziyada. But what we can do is, as we go through this book, if you students, go through it, you can write down the definitions of these words and we can put it in an English format to benefit others, inshallah ta'ala. How can you obtain a copy of this book? I don't know. The copy that I have is from my Shaykh Mubarak Fori, rahimahullah. He's also the same Shaykh that you all are familiar with. He's the author of Rahiq al-Makhtoum. He is the same author through which we have Ijaza in the 6 books of the Sunnah from him. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So this is the copy. And the reason why we're using his copy is that, well, actually, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to confuse you. Next class, we'll talk about that. I don't know. Maybe Abu Mahmoud can answer that question, or Abu Hudhaifa, or somebody can answer the question how you can get this book. I don't know. Okay. Does any of the ustads in the room, Abu Shabaka, any of you guys know how we can get this book? It's from Dar es-Salaam. Okay, so you can order it from Dar es-Salaam. Abu Shabaka, you have to raise your voice because we don't hear you.
There's also another website called Sifat al-Safwa. There's another website called... See that one more time? Maybe Dar es Salaam has it, but perhaps they have a translated version.
Translated version. Okay. We'll stop there.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feekum. All right. So, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Let us, there's no questions, and I have a couple of questions for you guys. Okay. First question is, turn up your microphone, whoever has their mic on. Kids. First question is, what is the name? Oh, stop. What I do? What is the name of the 2 authors? Question number 1. Please, everyone, write it down, please, here in this box here. Now, Jalaluddin al-Mahalli and Jalaluddin al-Suyuti. Okay. How old? Well, the question comes, who is the older of the 2? Which one of them is the older and the actual original author of the book? Which one of them? Please give me a direct sentence, a full sentence. Which one of the authors is the original writer and the teacher of the other? How old? Jazakumullah khair. Nah. How old was Jalaluddin al-Suyuti when his Shaykh died? How old was he? I'm sorry, people. I do not want one-word sentences, and I do not want he was. I want the actual name in a full sentence, please. Right? This helps establish the knowledge in the head of the student. Right? If you write 15, you don't remember 15 what? Jalaluddin al-Suyuti was 15 years old when his teacher, al-Mahalli, died. Okay? That's a full sentence, but you can say Jalaluddin al-Suyuti was 15 when his teacher died, as Moshe has said. But I want a full sentence because this is the way you retain knowledge. No. How old was Jalaluddin when he wrote his first book? Yeah, Miss Amina, Miss Nubi, my relative, alhamdulillah. Can I say he was 8 years old? You have to say Jalaluddin al-Suyuti was 8 years old when he wrote his first book. Please don't write Jalaluddin. Write Jalaluddin with 2 E's. Ya Aba Shabaka. What did Jalaluddin know? Abdul Alim, he was not 21 when he wrote his first book. He was 8 years old when he wrote his first book. By the time he was 21, he had written about 5 books. I only mentioned his first one and the one he started on. He wrote a number of books. His first book he was 8 years old. What I didn't mention is 2 things I didn't mention that are important to mention. Number one is both of these scholars followed the Shafi'i madhab in fiqh. Okay, so it was as if they were like the grandchildren of Imam Malik, okay? Because Imam Malik's student was Imam Shafi'i. Don't ever forget that, all you people who follow the Shafi'i fiqh, that Imam Shafi'i was a student of Imam Malik. And so the students of Imam Shafi'i are like the grandchildren of Imam Malik. And that's important to note because a lot of people say you have to follow the Salaf, but they forget that Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, these are all the Salaf. So following them, inclining towards their way when you don't have dalil is appropriate. Another thing I didn't mention the year that they lived, the years that they lived. And I didn't do that because at first I wasn't going to mention that because I was going to mention it when we talk about the book. The book is over 700 years old. Okay. And another reason I didn't want to mention it is because that most people, most Westerners are not familiar, okay, with the, what do you call it? What is this? Has the Arabic version there, the publisher, and that is the best version as it comes with Shaykh, better course check. There is an English version done. I have seen it but not read it or saw how the checking was done. What is correct and what is bad for us to stick with to the version that's being used by Shaykh in the class. You know, I'll tell you what also, I have checked out the partial English version. It's not complete, the one that I saw. It's by the name, the lady, she's from England. And no, I don't suggest the book. That's why I didn't mention it. And it's not complete, okay? Follow the Arabic one and make your own. It'll be better that way, inshallah. And the reason why I didn't advise that one is because Jalal, the book by Mubarak 40, it corrects the issues of the names of Allah. There's some issues that need some correcting, and Shaykh Mubarak 40 corrected those issues. So you never have to worry about what you're reading. Where the other person who did the work, you don't know where they stand in it, and it has more work to do. So like the person stated, stick to the version that I'm using in class, and that's why I said stick to the Dar Salam version. Alhamdulillah. Okay? And maybe I can call and get the book from there. al-Mahalli, he died in 870 Hijrah. Okay? So Most people don't know what time that was because they're so used to the CE, which we call the Christian era. I call it the Christian era, you know, because that's what it initially stood for, you know. And so they're on that particular thing. So they're thinking it's what year is it, 2020 on the CE era. If you tell them 870s Hijra, they're lost. And that's because most people are unfamiliar with Islamic history. Okay? Islamic history, which is really Islamic/world history. And so if mentioning the date doesn't benefit you in that regard. But knowing how old the book is a benefit for you to understand so that you would understand that this book is start and where did he finish writing the book? What part of the Quran did he write as a tafsir? What part of the Quran did he begin with? And where he started with Surah Al-Kahf and where did he end? Okay. For the most part, we say started with Kahf and finished with Nas, right? Even though he did Al-Fatiha and 25 ayat, 26 ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? So we say that Mahalli did most of the book, even though it's only a few pages more that he did, because Al-Kahf is the middle of the Quran. But the middle of Kahf is the middle of the Quran. So he began with the beginning of Kahf. He already did more than anybody else who comes next. And since he did Al-Fatiha, that adds to it. And he did 24 ayat, so that adds to it. So he did a little bit more than al-Suyuti. Okay? Nah. And that's what I need you guys to understand in the beginning. I hope that you have enjoyed this class. I do have a test for you guys. A question here in this poll. I want to take this poll right here. In this poll, I want to see how many times you guys want to have this class a week. You know, if you want to have it 3 times a week or just 2 times a week. How many times a week? Now, if we have it, it would be it would be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay? That would be the times. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As we get closer to, well, let me say 2 times. Let me say twice a week. The next one is 3 times a week. Now I'm starting. Hold it. Go ahead. Look. You have to write it here, okay? Everybody can vote. Even the Timbuktu people can vote. Dun, 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 dun. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's what the days are going to be. Monday, Tuesday, no, Wednesday, okay? And Friday. Online for you to see. So you can catch up that way. Okay, so we're going to broadcast the results. The results are broadcasted 3 times a week wins, if you guys can see this. 62% of the people said 3 times, and 37% of the people, well, now it's just changed. Still, 3 times a week still wins. Somebody's changing their vote back and forth. All right, we're done. We end the poll. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It will be Monday, Wednesday, and on Jumu'ah, inshallah ta'ala. Outside of that, the video will be posted, inshallah ta'ala, on the different mediums. You're allowed to share this, this information with other people. Please let them know to come to the class. All they have to do is register and come into the class, inshallah ta'ala. We hope that we can start together and, finish together. But donations will not be rejected. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And you can talk to Miss Hajar about that. Hajar. Her number is 321. I don't know the rest of it. She can put it there. Hajar, you could put the number there, please, so that anybody can contact her about those particular type things. Okay? All right. If there's no questions, I would like to say Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. May Allah bless us. Rabbi zidni ilma. May Allah increase us in knowledge and forgive us of our sins. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll see you guys, inshallah ta'ala, on Friday at 6:30, inshallah.